Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Jeff Mendelson, and this is the One Big Tip podcast. My guest today is Ben Albert. Ben is the owner of the Real Business Connections Network, where he hosts 5 podcasts. He started his first full-time business which he built from scratch and replaced his corporate sales income in less than a year. Now he helps elevate other businesses through life-changing business development strategies, including online marketing, personal branding, and of course, podcasting. His mission is to help business people save time and make more money by empowering them to better serve their customers and providing the autonomy to serve their families and community. So from one podcaster to another, I am so happy to have you on. Ben, thank you so much for joining me and welcome to the show.
Jeff, thanks for having me. Thank you for the warm introduction. I hope bring value today and humble to be here, man. Great show.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining me. Ben, tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, and how you became so amazing.
Yeah. Oh, so amazing. I don't know about that, but I'm an ordinary guy. I came from humble beginnings. Really was the quiet kid in school. Barely spoke the first 13 years of my life. It's funny, we're recording this on Passover, the first day of Passover. I was Jewish. The first time I had to public speak, I'm on stage for my bar mitzvah. I'm sweating buckets, armpits, voices cracking, and I still have sad dreams about how horrible that experience was. I was a shy kid, and it's funny you asked who I am as part of that question. I'm a curious person. I'm a passionate person. I'd like to think I have a growth mindset, and a lot of that came from being the quiet kid. I wanted to be a basketball player. I had a jersey for every single day of the week. I wanted to be the next Michael Jordan. I wasn't going to live to be above 5'8". So why do I just word vomit this information? I get to podcast and market for a living. So the once quiet kid who never had an Elon Musk or Brene Brown or Steve Jobs on the wall now gets to be a business owner and an entrepreneur. And because I was that quiet, reclusive, weird kid, I feel like that's where I developed who I was, which is a curious person, an inquisitive person, a lover, someone who wants to help. And what better way to do these things, live out a world of curiosity, than through podcasting and marketing and having conversations with brilliant people. Right now, I'm doing the talking, Jeff, but as a podcast host, having brilliant conversations with people like yourself and learning something new every single day.
First of all, thank you for that. It's so cool to be able to talk with other people, in your field, that share the same passions. A lot of us do not have those opportunities, or we have to travel far and wide, in order to do that. Like we have to meet at a convention, or we have to somehow be inside each other's circles somehow. And what happens is that podcasting, hands down, is the ultimate networking tool. It is the best way to meet people, whether you're across the street or halfway around the world. I can reach out and touch just about anybody, give them a platform, and create a warm introduction. And I think that's one of the really cool things about this platform. And I just wish I would have gotten involved in it sooner. I really kick myself for not going full force into this, simply because there is so much, there is so much to do. There are so many people to meet. There are so many people that we need to serve. So I really appreciate you, taking the time out to do that. Tell me something about your journey, though. When you decided that you wanted to, project your create a foundation, create a platform for yourself. What was that like for you? Were you a little scared to do it? Was it something that you're like, oh, yeah, I can do this? Or, what was the impetus that really got you started and, really gave you the passion to do what you do today?
Yeah, it's a funny question because even after I've guested between guesting and hosting, I've been on hundreds of podcasts, and I still don't think I just snap my finger and go, I can do this. I mean, nowadays my confidence and conviction has never been higher. But when I first got started in podcasting, it was actually October of 2016, and at that time podcasting was getting much bigger. I was a binge listener. I was actually a traveling sales rep for Chobani Yogurt, so I was driving almost the entire day and listening to podcasts the entire day. I wanted to get better and not bitter, and I was using that drive time to better myself by listening. At the same time, I was a huge music advocate, huge in the music scene, and basically drinking myself to death. I was a party animal, and I started to feel a little bit of like shame about my lifestyle, and I felt like I was not a contributor. I felt like a consumer, but not a contributor. Now, entertainment industry, you need consumers. It's built on consumers. I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. It's what makes entertainment. But I was going to the bar and going to shows 3, 4, 5, 7 times a week, and I wasn't contributing anything. So really what I did in 2016 is I just took the two together. I said, I like podcasting. There's actually three things together. I like podcasting. I love music. And I love my hometown of Rochester, New York. So I took the age-old advice, find your niche, do your passion, this and that. And I just took the three together. I started a Rochester, New York music podcast, started, chatting about the music scene. And then to fast forward, we can talk about anything you want, but it wasn't until 2020 that I started a business show that I started that in Rochester as well. I always go back to my hometown. I always start with local. I always start small, and then you build that small niche audience. And nowadays, Real Business Connections listen to anywhere in the globe, all starting from a rinky-dink music podcast that there was no snap of a finger. It's perfect. Honestly, it was a ton of nosebleeds. You can go check out Rochester Groovecast. It's terrible. The first 60 episodes stink. The next, it's not terrible. It's pretty good. But the first 60 episodes were pretty bad, to be honest with you.
What's interesting about that is, part of this is how we find our voice, right? Both in the literal and in the figurative sense, because basically what we're talking about here is, I relate this, to many people, when I tell them that, listen, I was the kid that started in high school. I was terrified to get up in front of people. Right. And now it's like, whoa, wait a second, this guy has a voice, he can project it, and people listen to it, right? Mm-hmm. And that is one of the things that I find very unique about this platform is that, anyone can do it. And it doesn't matter if your first 10 episodes, only your mom and your sister listen to it, right? It's like the fact of the matter is you're putting yourself out there and you're making it happen. And then you can, as you're creating this content, you can use that content to your advantage. You can repurpose it. You can create blog posts out of it, more social media assets, YouTube shorts, what have you. And what happens is that by, you really need to figure out then who you want to be, right? Because one of the negative self-talk that I gave myself a lot of was, why would I start yet another business podcast? There's 1,000,001 sales, marketing, and business podcasts out there. What do I have to offer? And the fact of the matter is I have a lot to offer, right? I have a very unique perspective. You do too, just by being in different parts of the country, we can talk about, this kind of stuff from here until tonight. And what happens is that it makes for really interesting conversations because other people need to hear this too. You don't necessarily know who you're going to impact at any one time. So
True.
My question for you is, how do you help people then figure out what their voice is in order to, unlock that greatness and be able to project that so that other people can listen?
Wow. That is a big question.
It was meant to be.
Oh, man. It's funny you asked that because I feel like I'm not the jeweler. What I do in my marketing, I'm not the jeweler. I'm not making the jewelry. I'm more... Let me think about this. I don't make the jewelry. I know how to find the gold. So I actually don't do what you just said well. My job is a curator. I sift through the crap to find the gold, and I share that gold with others. So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not the king at helping people find their voice. You put it on the screen. I don't think there is a specific key to success. I think it's a combination lock. If someone thinks they have the key, the perfect solution, they're trying to sell you something. No one has the key. Everybody's different. And to be able to unlock someone else's they're to unlock their freaking. I can't do it. Like, they need to do it for themselves. And what I've gotten at as a marketer is more finding the gold. We do a lot of content repurposing. We do a lot of, content marketing, podcast repurposing, the whole shabam. Wow, you caught me off guard with that question because it's such a darn good one. But it goes back to what I just said. Like, there isn't a specific key. There is no perfect answer. There is no specific solution. There is no 5-step formula. Everyone's different. Now, you can extract the wisdom from brilliant people, mentors. You can take their stories and turn 10 years, 50 years, 100 years of experience into a book, into a podcast episode, and take what took them 20 years and you can go accomplish it in 1 year. That's what I somehow imagine. I can't believe I'm living this life right now. I was able to replace my sales executive income in a year. That's pretty badass, but none of that would have been possible without surrounding myself with the right people, getting the right knowledge. I mean, you can do the same thing 20 years, but you're just repeating the same incorrect steps for 20 years straight. Or if you spend 2 years learning from brilliant people, finding your combination, adding your own sort of personal vibe, your own personal experience to it, you can unlock on almost anything you can imagine. It's just how everybody has their own unique fingerprint. Like, why do you think that they take your fingerprint when you get arrested? It's because it's completely unique. Each of us is completely unique. We all have our unique combination. So to weave back to your question, the honest answer, Jeff, is I don't have a perfect answer. I don't know. I do know when I see gold. I do know when I hear gold. I do know when someone's the best kept secret. It's my job to inject steroids in what they're doing, amplify what they're doing. But to get them to find who they are at a deeper level is something tremendously profound. And I'd like to find the answer to that question too. So great question. I hope I didn't dodge it too much. It was a fantastic one.
No, what's interesting about that is, first of all, thank you for articulating that. And I appreciate you catching that curveball. But really what we're talking about here is, especially in our field, in the digital marketing and, sales and marketing fields, we're always looking for, the quick step, the framework, the 5 steps to doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And sometimes it just feels a little bit contrived, right? It feels like, okay, if I just had this, if I just followed this one framework, this is what's going to do it for me. And I think what happens is that people then become a little disillusioned. Like, well, wait a second, I signed up for this guy's thing. And then I listened to a bunch of Gary Vee videos and, when I tried to apply that, and then I went to a Grant Cardone conference and I tried to apply that. And then I went to a funnel hacking live thing. And, it's like, what happens is that you get overwhelmed, right? And, like, I'm not afraid to say it, some of these people are just course junkies. Right?
Sure.
It's like they keep on buying the course, but they don't necessarily know how to implement it. Right? So what some smart coaches and entrepreneurs have done, it's like, okay, like, here, you have my framework, you bought my book, you bought my daily planner or whatever it is. But then, how do you implement it? I have this great program for you. Please send me another $25,000, and let me walk you through it. And what happens is that I get it. Some people need it. Right. But at the same time, it's like, well, wait a second. You and I both read English at the exact same level. It's not like we have different levels of comprehension. We do need different levels of push, or, of that strength that we need in order to go and make things happen for ourselves. Others, need someone to tell them, okay, Jeff, go do this. Okay, Ben, go do that. Right. And what happens is that, okay, like, if that's what you need and that's what you're paying for, right? That's why we go to university. That's why some of us go ahead and get an MBA, right? Because we feel that we need that extra, that extra step, those extra letters after our last name, things like that. When you are creating your podcast and you're talking with other people, what is going through your mind as you're asking them questions? Are you doing this sort of like, I just want to gather as much information as possible? Does it come from a position of, I want to serve more? What are you thinking about when you produce shows like that?
Yeah, I mean, I want to get the wisdom from the people who have it to the people who need it. And what's funny when I say wisdom from the people who have it to the people who need it, there's two categories of people that need it. The audience, oftentimes, I'm not going to assume that you need the specific, you never know what someone needs. And me, I'm in that needed category. You understand this, and I just said it. Creating a combination is extracting wisdom from people and learning. And here's the thing, you were talking about courses. You're right. People learn something and they don't implement. They don't take action. If someone has a playbook, if Gary Vee has a playbook, if Grant has a playbook, if Alex Hormozy or Brene Brown have a playbook, follow that playbook. I guarantee it's going to work for you if you really put you really put the effort into it. However, to revolutionize, to do something different, you're going to have to audible and start creating your own plays. You're going to have to start taking wisdom from different people. So what I get to do with the podcast is get the wisdom from the people who have it, all of my guests, to the people who need it, who is me, and take a step back with that beginner's mindset, realizing that I don't exactly know where my listeners from, where they are in their life, if they're at the gym, if they're taking notes. So taking a step back to ask those beginner level questions. Don't assume everybody has the same knowledge or experience as me, and just ask, honestly, really stupid questions. I learned it from Larry King. He just asked, why? Now, I try to get a little more, pretty than just saying the word why. I think that sounds weird in conversation, but asking really basic, simple questions that I needed to know once, and more often than not, me needing to know once, I need to know now. So it's, what was I curious about before I got a bunch of nosebleeds and figured it out? And what am I currently getting nosebleeds over that this guest can help me figure out? And it doesn't land every single time. That's the truth. But when it lands, we can really make a difference in our audience's life.
I love it, Ben. Thank you so much for bringing that to light. Where can people learn more about you, and how can they reach out to you directly if they want to learn more?
The first thing, so I don't want to talk to you unless you do this. That's a lie. I'll still talk to you because I'm a nice guy and I appreciate you. But Jeff put so much time and effort into this show. I wouldn't be here without him. I appreciate you, Jeff. And that's why I say, first off, if you haven't clicked subscribe, if you're watching live and you haven't commented, click like. If you're a real go-getter, actually leave a review, but even just hitting 5 stars will do it. Do that now, especially if you're a repeat listener, because why not? I mean, it supports Jeff, organically gets the show to more people. And the way you find me is just typing in Real Business Connections wherever you found this. So LinkedIn, website, YouTube, Google it. If I somehow made a mistake, realbusinessconnections.com. But if you just type in the words Real Business Connections where you found this, you'll find me, and then we can start a conversation. But go leave them a review first, and then we'll talk.
I love it, Ben. Thank you for joining me today. That was such a great lead off. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today, and it's been great.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is fun.